Welcome back. Today we're looking at a really compelling submission, a deep dive into the online content of, Bro Sanchez.
Yeah, it's quite something. High energy, aggressive analysis of, well, everything from spiritual warfare to societal lies.
It really gives you a window into his worldview. Confident, sprawling, but also quite aggressive in deconstructing what he sees as deception.
Absolutely. Packed with what feels like truth-seeking. But that sheer velocity, that confidence, it kind of reveals some, let's say, significant contradictions, structurally and psychologically.
Right. And tackling those is key, we think. If those get addressed, the impact could be, well, much stronger, more credible.
Definitely. We've boiled it down to 4 main areas, 4 pressure points.
Let's jump straight in. The first one is pretty foundational, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. It's the main tripwire, really.
Okay, so the central weakness here is this structural contradiction. You've got this mission to expose false doctrines, but then promoting a very personal, kind of unverified ideology as the absolute truth.
Exactly. That's the core paradox. He spends so much time, and he's sharp at it, detailing how others, like a specific pastor he calls out, or even the official Flat Earth Society, are, lying on God, or a just controlled opposition.
He's a fierce critic of external lies. No doubt about that.
But then, the moment he offers his alternative, his own complex cosmology, things like the 7 days of creation being 7 nets, or ethereal barriers.
Or the Van Allen belts being code for radiant matter.
He presents it all with this absolute non-negotiable certainty. He literally says, I'm 100% sure I know the shape of the Earth. It's simple. It's flat, bro. And see, that's the problem. If your whole thing is liberation from deceit, from unquestioned authority, well, you can't just swap one authority figure for another, especially yourself.
Right. When he pushes his own esoteric views as undeniable fact, delivered with that sort of dogmatic finality.
He's basically replicating the very power structure he claims he wants to tear down. He goes from truth seeker to, high priest of his own doctrine.
So the suggestion for improvement seems pretty straightforward here.
Yeah, it's about reframing the mission, isn't it? Less about fighting lies.
And more about intellectual exploration, discovery. Acknowledging that this kind of ancient knowledge, spiritual stuff, it needs humility, interpretation.
Exactly. That shifts the tone right away. From, this is how it is, to, here's a powerful possibility. Let's explore it.
So instead of just declaring the firmament is the top, bro, maybe frame these ideas like space being the surface of primordial water as, say, decoded ancestral knowledge. Invite the listener to test it themselves. See if it holds up philosophically.
Empower them to find truth, not just demanding belief because he says he's more awake.
Right. Give him the tools, not just the conclusions.
And this tension, this authority versus discovery thing, it bleeds right into the second point, which is about his whole debate style.
Yes, the rhetoric, which often seems to prioritize, winning, the spectacle of the argument.
Over the actual stated goal of seeking truth. It feels like intellectual rigor gets sacrificed for entertainment value or dominance. Totally. You see it in the language. Opponents aren't just wrong, they're stupid ego or Darth Vader or compulsive liars. It's very charged.
And he controls the flow so aggressively. Everybody be silent, or cutting people off with, no, stop talking, bro, because I asked you a damn question.
And the psychological angle here is fascinating because he identifies this tactic himself. He says, the way that you control an audience is you know what to do on stage with the puppets to get certain reactions.
But then he does it. He uses that exact kind of manipulative spectacle when he dismisses someone by saying, it is dumb. I gotta call it how I see it, brother, because you rather just say that shit AI than open up ChatGPT.
It stops being about the topic, like AI or whatever, and becomes a performance. It's about asserting his own authority, his moral high ground.
The weakness being that the focus shifts. It's not about challenging a flawed idea anymore. It's about humiliating the person.
Which, ironically, just feeds the very ego he rails against, the thing he calls the biggest spiritual barrier.
So, the suggestion?
Needs a fundamental shift in the goal of engagement.
Absolutely.
Shift the metric.
From winning the debate
to discovering or maybe bolstering the strongest possible argument, even if it's not his own initially.
Right. Isolate the idea from the person. You have to try and validate the opponent's core experience, or at least their starting point, even if you think their conclusion is way off.
Could you give a concrete example of how that might look?
Sure. Take the caller who claimed they wanted a casino multiple times just through manifestation, instead of immediately calling them a liar.
Which shuts down everything.
Right. He could actually acknowledge the concept of mindset power, something he uses himself quite a bit before asking critical questions, like really probing the feasibility of that specific manifestation model within a system, designed for the house to win.
So engage the idea, not just attack the person. Change the intent. He actually said he debates people just to show how dumb y'all are.
Yeah, that intent needs to change to something like, we're here to sharpen everyone's thinking, including mine, by stress testing ideas together. Aim for discovery, not just a takedown.
Makes sense. Okay, let's move to the third major point. This one feels like a big structural vulnerability.
The money. Yeah. The hypocrisy of monetized anti-capitalism.
And yet, this whole anti-capitalist platform is funded through pretty aggressive monetization itself. Constant appeals.
Yeah. Non-stop calls for super chats, donations, memberships, often setting specific targets, like we only need 3 more people to send in $5 to meet our little small goal. It feels very transactional.
And the paradox is just stark, isn't it? He's using the very mechanism he attacks, profiting from viewer emotion, specifically outrage about greed,
to fund his operation.
He even links donations to the content itself, saying things like, I bet you the narrative don't shift to, we don't care if it ain't real. We need to find Jesus, go fuck it. Like, pay up or the message changes.
He's directly leveraging the audience's reaction against capitalist greed for his own personal profit. It replicates the exact dynamic he criticizes.
So the actionable step here has to be about alignment, right? Aligning the financial practice with the message.
Exactly. If the goal is liberation, the funding model needs to feel different. More like collective contribution, maybe? Transparent goals for the infrastructure, not just personal appeals?
Remove that appearance of transactional demand.
So practically, replace the personal donation pushes with community-focused goals. Tie them to specific needs, research costs, production upgrades, whatever. Help us get the gear needed for this investigation. Something like that.
And crucially,
stop language that implies a donor's value is tied to how much they give. Or calling small donations cheap dish as fuck, which he actually did. If it's about liberation, every contribution matters towards the shared goal. Focus on that goal, not the host's wallet.
Okay, final point. This one digs a bit deeper into the psychological drivers behind all this.
Yeah, the engine running underneath. The critique of external ego and chaos seems heavily driven by perhaps an unexamined internal need for control. Patterns of projection.
He's constantly calling out the stupid ego in others, accusing archons, false prophets, whoever, of being run by hate, refusing to let nature win.
But then you look at his own presentation, declaring himself a perfectionist, his work a legacy like the Bible or Quran. That's pretty high ego stuff.
And when challenged, the attacks get personal very quickly, calling dissenters emotional ass niggas, disgusting.
It feels like the core drive shifts from seeking spiritual balance, which he talks about,
to just controlling the narrative, which is the exact definition of the controlling authority he says he's exposing.
He preaches about the ego being the heaviest thing you carrying, the thing that stops you from spiritually floating.
But his actual behavior in these debates suggests his own self-worth is completely tangled up in being seen as correct, unquestionably right, on every single point.
So the suggestion here is introspection. Developing an introspective layer within the content.
Using those chaotic debates not just as a stage, but as a spiritual training ground to actually practice the self-control he preaches.
Exactly. Imagine the power if he actually showcased that internal conflict, the struggle between doing intense spiritual self-work and engaging in this high-octane, confrontational online world.
instead of just doubling down, saying I've been doing this too long to justify being right.
He could tie that struggle against ego directly back to the challenge of moderating the stream, managing the debate chaos, model what it looks like to yield the flow, as he puts it. Maybe even admit a minor error sometimes.
That would transform the whole dynamic, from asserting authority to demonstrating self-mastery in action.
It feels like his biggest opponent might not be the archons or the deep state,
But maybe the unexamined parts of his own drive for absolute certainty and control.
Yeah. So let's quickly recap those 4 actionable steps. First, resolve that core paradox. Shift from fighting lies with new dogma.
Second, resign the debate style. Prioritize discovery, intellectual rigor, over just dominating the opponent.
Third, align the money part. Make the financial model truly reflect the anti-capitalist message. Transparency, collective goals.
And finally, fourth, build in that crucial introspective layer. Use the show itself as a place to practice and show the anti-ego principles he teaches.
Making these changes, we believe, would seriously sharpen the impact and integrity of the work, make those powerful ideas he discusses land with more credibility.
Absolutely. We really encourage you to work through these suggestions. We think it could make a huge difference. And please, feel free to submit the revised approach back to us. We'd love to see how it evolves.
Keep pushing, keep refining. Thanks for sharing this with us. Yeah, thank you. Keep up the challenging work.
That's it for this critique. We'll catch you next time.